Welcome to a meeting of your Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners. Representing District 1, Harry Cohen. Representing District 2, Ken Hagan. Representing District 3, Gwen Myers. Representing District 4, Christine Miller. Representing District 5, Donna Cameron Cepeda. Representing District 6, Chris Bowles. Representing District 7, Joshua Wostel. The County Administrator is Bonnie Wise. The County Attorney is Christine Beck. Time is set aside at the beginning of each meeting for citizens to speak on any issue. So we have time for everyone. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Today's meeting is brought to you with closed captioning by Hillsborough Television.
Good morning. Welcome to August 20, 2025, regularly scheduled board meeting of the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners. Everyone please rise for the pledge and invocation given by our chaplain, Commissioner Gwen Myers.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, gracious Heavenly Father, we come thanking you for our activities on yesterday. We ask a special blessing for today, that you will allow us to do all the things that we need to do today and be able to return safely to our families. Lord, I ask that you will bless this agenda that we're going to discuss in your name. Bless the leadership of this board and our county administrator and her leadership. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers. This morning, we do not have any proclamations or accommodations. So, Bonnie, you want to review the changes to the agenda?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. We have 2 items that are now for time certain. The first one is item B2. This is at 9:30. It is to approve the interlocal agreement with Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Cronister for the provision of inmate mental health care services. And now item B3 is at 10:15. This is to approve the authorizing and supplemental resolutions with authorize the issuance of not to exceed $55 million of capital improvement non-ad valorem refunding revenue bonds for the purpose of currently refunding all or a portion of the county's communication services tax revenue bond series 2015 to generate an estimated $2.4 million in net present value savings. We have several items for time certain. The first one is at 9:30, item B2, approve the interlocal agreement with Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Cronister for the provision of inmate medical health care services. Item E1 at 9:45 is to receive a special appearance by Chip Wentworth, Vice President of Electric Delivery, Tampa Electric Company, regarding plans for the upcoming hurricane season. Item D1 at 10 o'clock is to conduct a public hearing and approve the fiscal year 2026 to 2030 HART CIP list of projects funded by transportation impact fees per the interlocal agreement with HART. Item D2 at 10 o'clock is to conduct a public hearing and adopt a resolution that establishes a stormwater management non-ad valorem assessment rates and non-ad valorem assessment roll for calendar year 2025. There are no proposed increases in rates, and the rates will remain unchanged. Item D3 at 10 o'clock is to conduct a public hearing to establish separate uniform rates for the various street lighting districts for the 2025 tax year and adopt the non-ad valorem assessment for street lighting for the 2025 tax year. Item B3 at 10:15 is to approve the authorizing and supplemental resolutions with authorize the issuance of not to exceed $55 million of capital improvement non-ad valorem refunding revenue bonds series 2025. 11:45 is a recess for lunch. Those are the changes to the agenda.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Bowles?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we waive the rules this morning, and I want to make a request to pull item A47C from the consent agenda and be considered separately and placed first in the lineup this morning.
Second.
Okay, so we'll take that up. Would that be included with the changes, or is that a separate motion?
Yeah, I'd like to be included in the
I think
changes.
Included in the changes? Okay.
Included.
Okay, so we got a motion by Commissioner Bowles, second Commissioner Wostel. Please record your vote.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0.
And my apologies, we'll point out that Commissioner Cohen's out of town and is participating remotely this morning. Bonnie?
Good morning.
So I think we can do 47C.
Okay.
Is that before public comment, Rick, or after? Pardon?
I think we could keep it brief.
Commissioner Bowles?
Okay. And in keeping this brief, my reason for pulling the item is basically consistency and best interest. Very similar to the concern I raised with the Doge Committee and having the best opportunity to have people on there. Simply put, I think the public needs to be able to trust that our processes and policies are applied consistently. And in reviewing the agenda, I realized that some of the other boards and councils that were placed on there on the consent agenda had at least 2 separate advertisements, if not more, seeking candidates. One of the things when I first came into office is I believe that our boards and councils policy needed a serious update. And in my opinion, there's a lot of redundancy, non-compliance, and sometimes a complete waste of resources being expended upon these boards from our staff. I've already worked with our staff here within the building earlier this year to begin tightening up these policies and offered some suggestions along those lines. And I'm hopeful and expect that we will be having a more comprehensive proposal before all of us soon from our staff so that we don't have to have these piecemeal adjustments like this in the future. And I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
All right, so the motion is to?
Basically re-advertise as soon as possible.
Second.
Okay. We got a motion by Commissioner Bowles, second Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. Commissioner Miller, did you want?
Thank you, Chair. I agree with you, Commissioner Bowles, that I think there needs to be some adjustments to how it's running. My thoughts are on this. Did you pull only that one? Did you confirm that there was only one applicant for only that one, or were there others? I think there's at least one other that only has a single applicant. And so I don't know why we would single this one out, or as you're saying, this is about the policy.
This is about consistency with advertising. This is the only one that only had one advertisement. The other ones had several advertisements, and they may still have one applicant. Much like the Doge Committee, when we talked about that, having more, we had all these people we wanted on it, but we got this one genre of individuals in IT that basically applied for it. I think that wherever the chips fall, I think that the applicant has a distinguished career and for this, and it has nothing to do with that. This is just about consistency with process.
100%. I completely support it. I would love to see you expand it to say perhaps, I would like to see them explore other ways of advertising. I think maybe that's where
I agree.
We're having some issues is people don't always get their information now from a single source.
Totally agree with that as well. And
You have my full support on this.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, we got a Commissioner Bolstell? Okay, got a motion and a second. Please record your vote.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1. Commissioner Wostel voted no.
Okay, now we're going to the public comment portion of the agenda. The board welcomes comments from the citizens about any issue or concern. Your opinions are valued in terms of providing valuable input to board members. However, it is requested at the same time when you address the board, comments are not directed personally at board members or the staff, but rather the issues. We've set aside 45 minutes for public comment this morning. Each person will be given 3 minutes. Please state your name and speak clearly into the microphone. First 3 speakers are Robert Davey, followed by Denise Herndon, and then Connie Rose. Is Mr. Davey here? Okay. Good morning, sir.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank the commission. The name is Davi, and thank you for all hearing this about pickleball. I moved from Los Angeles 3 years ago after 48 years being in LA and not liking what I was seeing was happening in that state. While I was there were many pickleball, because California is always like the leader in what's going on and across the country. but many lawsuits across the state of California because of the noise of pickleball, the nuisance, and it disobeyed the common law of being able to live in a peaceful environment in your home. And I have nothing against pickleball, but even a doctor from Mount Sinai Hospital 2 days ago put up, and that's the best cardiology, 3 top hospitals for heart, that pickleball noise creates with people that have heart issues. It can create issues for them. Also stress. There's certain decibel. Now, I live in this community that I came to Florida, Andalusia. 30 years they had an amenity of a clay court. Clay courts were the upscale version of a nice tennis court, quiet, different kind of sound. The HOA, which I think Florida should really look at HOA laws and put a little more, I know the governor has been trying to do some stuff on that, but I think there needs to be more stuff done about HOA. But the HOA created a little bit of a, I'd say, a mafia group in a different area away from the pickleball courts. We have people here today that from Top Gun heroes from Vietnam, other veterans that have spent 30 years, captains of industry, Holocaust survivors, that are all being affected by this pickleball noise that they want to put into the community. And we need, and I think it's important that I love Hillsborough County to take the lead on this action, and it has nothing to do with certain other laws, I think, except the ability to have a peaceful home. Would you like pong, 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 pong? I could spend 3 minutes doing that. Would you like that next to your community? Is that fair to the community? Now, you could say yes, no, indifferent, but it's something that is infecting people that live around that court. Now, I said to some of the members of the HOA that all voted for pickleball that live in a different area, I said, there's a vacant lot on Lot F. Let's even build a building there. Let's put it there in their area. It's called Ruby Circle. They said, no, we don't want it here. We need you guys to step up. We need you to really put an ordinance. I want to thank the committee for bringing this to committee. We need you to help us. I've been an actor for almost 50 years, 170 films. I was also on the Homeland Security Policy Institute at George Washington University for 14 years, from 2001 to 2014. I got the FBI award, Man of the Year award.
Thank you, sir.
Anyway,
Appreciate
we need your help, please.
Thank you, sir. Denise Herndon, followed by Connie Rose, then Greg Jolly. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Denise Herndon. I'm here to speak about your modification or your funding for Grace Point. There are a lot of indigent and homeless people that do need this, but just pushing a drug isn't the only solution. As a person that has been imprisoned because of a sheriff's department falsifying a report and making me Baker acted for 14 days, and the doctor falsifying the report, and his APRN falsifying the report to keep me in there. I was there 72 hours only thinking that, oh, Baker Act's only 72 hours, because I've been in the healthcare field over 30 years. And then my public defender says, no judge will let you out unless you take drugs. And I was forced to take drugs, all because of the dark web. Shirlene Hammond, who's an owner of Brandon Ford, falsified stuff and got the deputies to falsify, to Baker Act me. I know that there is a need for this, but the Hillsborough healthcare person that I know, the sheriff's department, Baker Act them and made them go to Grace Point. I didn't go to Grace Point, but there is a lot of abuse going on here. And I know this county commission can only fund it, but there needs to be a survey or something done. Shirlene Hammond has supposedly changed her residence to Michigan, but she still has a domicile in Clearwater. I wonder if she has a domicile in Michigan also. Shirlene Hammond is a real estate broker. When she lived next door to me, all the years that she lived there, she had her address as her place of her real estate business, which is a residential. Right there alone, this woman has done so much. When she was a school bus driver, I'm sure she had gotten fired because she would always brag to me about, oh, I always drove with my knees driving the school bus. And I remember way back in the 90s, there was a school bus driver that was terminated because she drove using her knees. And this woman bragged about it when she lived next door to me, befriending me when she really wasn't a friend. So there needs to be surveys done. There needs to be follow-up with the sheriff's department doing all these, oh, I did real good, I had to Baker Act somebody, when a lot of them are illegal. I know 6 myself, and I'm one of them. And it's not just Hillsborough County. Thank you.
Connie Rose, followed by Greg Jolly, and then Lori Sassano. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Connie Rose. And serving as the chair of Hillsborough County Commission on Human Trafficking is both an honor and deeply personal responsibility. I stand before you not only as a professional, but as a survivor, the daughter, and the victim of a sex offender and a trafficker. For more than 30 years, I have dedicated my life to supporting victims and survivors of sexual abuse and human trafficking. While most of you were not on this commission when it was first created, I commend you and I thank you for continuing to support and to strengthen it. This commission has given survivors, law enforcement, and community partners a united voice, and together we are making a real difference in Hillsborough County. Over the past year, we have made measurable progress because of your support. The commission has been able to fund specialized foster care housing for children who have been trafficked, placing them with families trained to support their trauma recovery, provide emergency housing with victim advocates so survivors can stabilize and safely participate in the prosecution of traffickers, deliver training to attorneys and investigators to equip our justice partners to better identify and try trafficking cases, to reinvigorate the Don't Buy It campaign, which raised awareness and increased calls to law enforcement and the Crisis Center's helpline. Equip the Crisis Center with updated forensic tools and emergency communication devices, improving prosecution and keeping survivors connected to advocates. We also launched a 3-year strategic plan to guide this work, ensuring county funds are used efficiently. And this Friday, I am so excited, we are having our first frameworks addressing human trafficking cases in the courts. Trauma-informed care practice training will convene prosecutors, defenders, court staff, victim service, law enforcement at no cost to the county. Our federal and community partners, we have 117 attendees. But I must emphasize, without consistent funding, this progress is at risk. While our request for our funding, $300,000, might seem like an increase, past budgets were sustained with only supplemental flag funds. Without stable funding of this support, our awareness must keep continuing. It must grow. So on behalf of survivors, law enforcement, community partners, I urge you to continue the support of the Commission on Human Trafficking through sustained, predictable funding, because together we are dismantling the conditions that allow trafficking to thrive. We are creating a safer future for our children, for our families, and for our neighborhoods.
Thank you, Ms. Rose. Appreciate your comments. Greg Jolly, followed by Lori Sassano and then William Paldino. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm here for Pickleball. My name is Greg Jolly. My wife Lori Sassano. Together we have served as Army combat veterans for 30 years, and both of us are 100% disabled. When planning for our retirement, we deliberately chose a community that was advertised as peaceful, welcoming, and non-belligerent, an environment where we could finally enjoy comfort and tranquility. Unfortunately, our experience with the current homeowners association has been anything but reassuring. Time and time again, the HOA's action has failed to align with their promises. Not only have they misrepresented their intentions, they have also misrepresented their intentions to us and other residents, but they've also repeatedly provided false information. One of our main concerns revolves around the installation of a pickleball court. The board claims that the decisions and discussions about pickleball have been ongoing for over 2 years, yet my wife and I only moved in April of '24, less than a year and a half ago. The current board has come to power in that same month. Nothing about pickleball was disclosed to us in our HOA documents, nor did the previous homeowner inform us of any upcoming plans. Had we known about these discussions, we had certainly reconsidered our purchasing plans. The HOA's insistence on pushing this project will have serious negative impacts on at least 55 homes within a 600-foot radius. Whenever we try to have open, rational conversations with the board about the rights of the minority homeowners affected by these changes, the board was dismissive. They suggest that if we're unhappy and don't like the increased dues, we should move. This attitude reminds us of our experiences in isolated combat outposts in Afghanistan, where people appear friendly by day but have different intentions by night. This toxic environment created by the HOA triggers PTSD in veterans like us who just wish to live peacefully, far removed from conflict and hostility. I urge the creation of an ordinance that addresses the following. Implement a clear oversight board that enforces accountability by HOAs. When they lack in their fiduciary responsibility. The creation of strict regulations for pickleball courts to be less than 600 feet, or greater than 600 feet. They must be greater than 600 feet. Certified acoustic engineer sound studies upholding minority residential right to be free from the nuisance of pickleball, which causes immediate and irreparable harm per the Florida statute. While sitting here listening and waiting for this meeting, you played a thing for Parks and Recreation. It said, feel the sound. How about we feel the sound in your parks, not in our homes? We ask that the board consider the well-being of all the voices of the residents so that we can have the safe haven that we were promised. I thank you. I yield my time, the rest of my time, to my wife. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jolly. Lori Sassano.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Lori Sassano. I'm a lifelong veteran, Floridian. I'm 100% disabled Army veteran serving after 30 years of military service. I returned to Hillsborough County with my spouse, Greg, and for the last 8 months, the folks sitting here before you, we have relentlessly requested the Andalusia HOA board to refrain from building pickleball courts so close to our homes. We have been left with harassment, intimidation, and bullied by neighbors who live more than a football field away from the courts. Me personally, I have suffered from HOA harassment, countless letters, intimidation. I've actually received hate mail and a medal that says I'm an all-time loser. I have ignored requests for information. I've been physically assaulted in one of the HOA meetings. I did call the police and I filed a report, and the HOA president was there, the vice president was there, and did nothing but count me as to blame. My husband and I are forced to spend thousands of dollars on an attorney, which we're fighting right now, to fight for our peaceful home. And we are on a fixed military income. HOA is meant to protect property values, and now this HOA is left with little oversight and disregarding any rules. Bottom line, pickleball does not belong in residential areas. The national standard for acoustic sound engineers recommends no less than 600 feet. The documents that my husband just gave cites many acoustical engineers and pickleball sound ordinances that say 600 feet is the standard. Yet our community is very different. 10 properties are located within 250 feet of the proposed courts. One property, Mr. Mike Wazzie right here, his property is 82 feet from the proposed courts. We have 55 properties in a 600-foot radius. Impulse from pickleball with those unpredictable pops triggers fight or flight response. This is similar to the sound of a handheld pistol or a pneumatic nail gun for construction. The HOA proposes these courts, 4 courts. This is 900 impulse pops in an hour. 4 courts in operation is 3,600 random pops per hour. You heard Mr. Davi, pong, pong, pong. Over a 12-hour period, these 55 households in a 600-foot radius will endure 45,000 pops in a day. These impacts and the frequency and bandwidth is from 1,500 to 2,000 hertz and be heard up to 300 feet away. And pickleball decibel is 75 to 80% range. And in Hillsborough County, they allow 45 decibel limit for daily yard maintenance. That's a far cry from the 75 to 80 decibel range.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, wait,
William?
I was using my husband's time. I still got 3 minutes.
No, ma'am, you don't. You're done. Thank you, though. William Palladino, followed by Paulette Eichenholz, and then Santino Provenzano. Good morning, sir.
Hi, my name is William Palladino, and I want to thank all of you for listening to our comments on this pickleball issue. I'm here on the pickleball issue. I am not one of the 10 people that are within the 250-foot limit. I'm more like 500 feet away. The pickleball court is adjacent to a pond, a lake in our community, and you know how sound travels over water. Another very important point, our current tennis courts have lights because you're not going to be playing too much tennis in the middle of the day in Florida. And by converting tennis courts into these pickleball courts, we're going to have people playing pickleball until 10 o'clock at night, unless there's some sort of ordinance against it. I understand that we're considering a 250-foot setback requirement for pickleball in residential communities. As Lori stated, 600 feet is a national standard. I'm not in that 250 feet. I am within the 600 feet. I'm here in support of my neighbors. An HOA board is supposed to be considering all of their residents. We have 217 lots in our community. And about 30 or 40 of these lots are going to be negatively affected by the pickleball noise, especially when it can happen at night. Anything that you can do to create ordinances to limit HOAs from changing their existing approved designs and adding pickleball into residential areas is going to be something that's going to benefit everyone in the county. Appreciate your help.
Thank you, sir. Paulette Eichenholz, followed by Santino Provenzano, and then Dottie Gruber-Skipper. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Paulette Eichenholz, and Andalusia is where I live for the past 25 years or so. Today, I stand before you. Sorry. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Today, I stand before you to urge action that prioritizes the health, peace, and well-being of our residential neighborhood. Specifically, I implore you to support an ordinance prohibiting the disruptive fad of pickleball in residential areas. My neighbor Mike, who's right here behind me, has a home that's very, very close to this planned pickleball. This is a persistent intrusion into private life, affecting the sleep, the mental health, and the ability to find solace in one's own home. I'm sorry if I have an accent, but I hope everybody understands. Okay. The residents' voice and overpowering, not just by the noise of the court, but by the I can't read, it's not enough light, I'm sorry. Including authority of boards who yield power without accountability. I ask each of you to consider implementing clear overnight creation of an ordinance that enforces accountability for HOA boards and the creation of an organization to report HOA when they lack in their fiduciary duties. Additionally, I would like to ask for the creation of strict regulation for the installation of pickleball court no less than 600 feet from a residential home.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Santino Provenzano, followed by Dottie Gruber-Skipper, and then John Culkin. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for your time today. My name is Santino Provenzano. I reside at 1427 Alhambra Drive, also in the Andalusia subdivision. To be honest with the Commissioners this morning, I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed, but I am hopeful. I'm embarrassed to be here today bothering the Commission about an issue with an HOA. However, I believe all the folks that have spoken today and that you're going to continue to hear from, we've kind of exhausted every option. I personally, I've spoken with EPC about noise. I've been told there's nothing they can do about it. They don't regulate noise in residential neighborhoods unless it comes from an industrial source. I've talked with development services, tried to intervene in any permit process that might be required to convert these existing clay tennis courts into a pickleball court, and have been told there's no review for noise for that type of permitting. And I've also talked to at least one commissioner's staff who said, this is an HOA issue, you need to talk to the state. So I'm here today, again, embarrassed that I am taking your time to talk about this. I'm also ashamed. I'm ashamed to live in a community that doesn't value and respect its own residents. As has been mentioned before, there are multiple people within a close proximity of the proposed pickleball courts that are literally war heroes. And I think you'll hear from one of them here in a few minutes, and you've heard from a couple of them, Lori and Greg, already. That an HOA would completely ignore the health impacts that are documentable, provable by scientific study, and continue to move forward makes me ashamed to live in that community. But I am hopeful. I'm hopeful you'll hear everyone's comments today, and I'd like to respectfully request that the Commission take immediate action to stop any project that might install pickleball within 250 feet at a minimum, and more likely 600 feet of an existing residence, as has been adopted in other geographies and in other jurisdictions. And I also ask that you direct staff to investigate a new ordinance around pickleball and a requisite permitting process to make sure that pickleball courts in the future are cited appropriately and will be consistent with the existing noise ordinances that are already on the books in Hillsborough County. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Dottie Gruber-Skipper, followed by John Culkin, and then Marilyn Brislin. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Dottie Gruber-Skipper, and I'm here to talk about Agenda Item G2. Florida consistently ranks third nationwide for reported human trafficking cases, with Tampa Bay among the nation's top destination hotspots. Tampa Bay's status as a major trafficking destination underlines the urgency for a coordinated, well-resourced local response. Community awareness campaigns through the Commission on Human Trafficking have increased tip line calls and law enforcement referrals, leading to faster rescues of victims and arrests of the perpetrators. I think most of you are familiar with my 40-plus career working with victims and survivors of human trafficking, and I'm elated that you, as a county commission, established the Commission on Human Trafficking. So thank you so much for that. It really, truly is making a huge impact and difference in our great community. As awareness grows, Hillsborough County will adopt a zero-tolerance culture toward exploitation, making it socially and economically riskier for traffickers to operate, creating a long-term cultural shift in Hillsborough County. Hillsborough County's push to make human trafficking awareness part of everyday community life has great tangible effects, not just in identifying more cases, but in disrupting the conditions that allow trafficking to thrive. Raising awareness about human trafficking doesn't just shine a light on this hidden crime. It actively changes the way a community responds to and prevents it through better detection and reporting, which makes our community safer. Hillsborough County's Commission on Human Trafficking has driven remarkable progress over the last several years, boosting detection, strengthening community networks, and helping to disrupt criminal enterprises. To build on these gains, it is recommended to transition the Commission on Human Trafficking's budget into the county's general fund to ensure predictable, long-term support. Thank you for the consideration of sustainable funding for the Commission on Human Trafficking, and I understand there'll be a report delivered later in this meeting, and I anticipate some of that clarification will be relayed that our commission has judiciously utilized the funds provided, including fiscal year 2025, where the majority of funds are encumbered but not yet invoiced.
Thank you, Ms.
So
Gruber.
thank you.
Appreciate your comments. John Culkin, followed by Marilyn Brislin, and then Jenny Perito. Good morning.
Good morning. I would like to speak in support of the ordinance restricting pickleball courts within 250 feet of any residence. I thank the board for this opportunity to speak on this proposed regulation. My name is John Culkin. I own a facility operations company. I've maintained Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty for the past 25 years. I do airport terminals at JFK, LaGuardia, Atlanta, in addition to many other government and private facilities. I also owned a mechanical and automations company that specialized in automation of large facilities to include hospitals and laboratories. I've been involved in sound attenuation post-construction on condominium projects, so I have some knowledge on this matter. I've researched and made myself familiar with the myriad of engineering and health reports on the issue. Pickleball noise and acoustics in general are difficult because it's very personal. No one hears the same. Musicians have tuned ears through training. Combat veterans have trauma responses to certain noises, and humans, through physiological differences, hear differently. But the fact that this has become such an issue across the country illustrates that it's a real issue and cannot be ignored. It is not dissimilar to temperature control in a building, which I'm very familiar with. Two people sitting 10 feet apart, one's hot and one's cold, right? Same thing happens with hearing. Pickleball noise is a short duration pop, less than 20 milliseconds, with a frequency of approximately 1,200 hertz. The human ear is not a meter. It is adapted to hear not only sound pressure, but the frequency of that sound. Blow a dog whistle and you can't hear it, because the human ear is not tuned to hear frequencies that a dog whistle blows at. Pickleball noise is also very difficult to measure due to the very short duration, and acoustical engineers are at odds about the best techniques used to measure it. What is not in question is the noise triggers a fight or flight response, which is subconscious. You cannot control it. It is processed in the amygdala of the brain, the part of the brain that, among other things, senses danger. There are significant medical issues coming out about the long-term health effects exposure to pickleball noise has on human beings, specifically because of this reaction. A report issued by Dr. Kathleen Ramito describes her research in a report dated May 2025 and is available online at pickleballnoiseandhealth, ramitoresearch.org. Issues such as severe distress, anxiety, sleeplessness, to name just a few. A retired Army colonel, after reviewing the study, likened it to, and I quote, "It reminds me of psychological operations used in times of warfare." The continuous pop in a place where you should feel safe and quiet, and the effect is acting on the subconscious. There are even studies that people hear phantom pops at night, not dissimilar to getting off a boat and feeling unsteady.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Marilyn Brislin. And we have Jenny Perito, who's virtual, and then Michael Wazalewski. Good morning.
Hello, Hillsborough County Board of Commissioners. My name is Marilyn Brislin. My home is located within Andalusia, and I am 200 linear feet across the street directly from the proposed pickleball courts. I am here this morning to request that you implement the ordinance to restrict the building of pickleball courts that within 250, if not 600 feet of the surrounding homes. By changing our tennis courts to the new pickleball courts, my home value and my inalienable rights to enjoyment of a peaceful community will be impacted. The pickleball courts will be a direct violation of the Hillsborough County Environmental Protection Commission noise pollution ordinance not to exceed 60 decibels between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. There are plenty of other options to locate pickleball courts that will not impact our homes, quote, not in my backyard. My husband and I are both senior citizens. We have lived here in the peaceful community of Andalusia for 25 years. We moved here due to the peace and quiet of the community. We also have enjoyed the fact that we have had an amenity which was initially approved when we moved here, which is our clay tennis courts. If you know tennis courts, clay tennis courts are important for tennis players as opposed to regular tennis courts. There's been documented evidence that pickleball courts can cause health problems for senior citizens. It's not that we're going to deprive the members of our community from the enjoyment of pickleball. There is a health club, and Apollo Beach Community Park has pickleball courts with night lights in close proximity. So there is the opportunity to provide pickleball for those neighbors who want to enjoy it. I would like to end my comments by reminding those here to consider what is the cost benefit to removing perfectly good clay courts and installing pickleball courts that cause noise intrusion when you already have existing facilities in the area. There's a better way to use our resources, and better ordinance planning and permitting is requested from the Hillsborough County Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to speak this morning.
Thank you, ma'am. Jenny Perito, is she virtual?
Can you hear us?
Hello. Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. I'm offering comments on item G2. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jenny Perito, and I am here today on behalf of Redefining Refuge and the children that we serve. First, I want to express our deep appreciation for the Hillsborough County Commission on Human Trafficking and the continued commitment of this body to protecting the most vulnerable among us. Over the years, your leadership has advanced public awareness, fostered collaborative solutions, and strengthened local action against one of the most complex and devastating issues of our time. It is precisely because of that commitment that I must share our concern regarding the recent decision to retract flag item funding for the Commission. While it is true that the Commission received general fund support, those dollars are designed to sustain baseline operations. Flag items, particularly those introduced by Commissioners, serve as catalytic funding. They allow for the outreach, partnerships, and specialized initiatives that cannot be covered by the core budget alone. And without them, critical momentum is placed at risk. To illustrate this point, I'd like to reference Operation Dragon Eye, the most successful U.S. Marshals mission of missing child operation in the nation's history, which recovered 60 missing children. That historic achievement was not the result of symbolic support, but of strategic coordination and properly resourced initiatives. The outcomes were measurable, life-saving, and a testament to what is possible when consistent funding is in place. I also want to clarify that while some funds remain from the prior fiscal year, $100,000 has already been earmarked for emergency housing. In reality, the unrestricted amount left is closer to $30,000, far short of what is required to fulfill the Commission's $367,000 strategic plan. Without supplemental support through flag items, the Commission faces a significant shortfall that forces impossible choices between sustaining core functions and advancing vital initiatives. We share the same goal as you to ensure that the Commission is not merely symbolically supported, but meaningfully empowered to meet the urgency of this crisis. At a time when the eyes of the community are on our leaders, the optics of retracting funding for anti-trafficking work are troubling, but more importantly, the impact is real and immediate for those we are charged with protecting. On behalf of Redefining Refuge and the children that we serve, I urge you to consider the broader consequences of this decision and to reaffirm your leadership through consistent and intentional support. The safety and futures of our children depend on it. Thank you.
Last two speakers this morning, Michael Wazalewski and then Thomas Cobert. Is Michael here? If not, Thomas Cobert. Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Michael Wazalewski. I'm a resident of the Andalusia community in Hillsborough County. We have many veterans that are located in that community and the city of Apollo Beach. I'm a former U.S. Naval aviator assigned to a fighter squadron out of Naval Air Station Miramar, San Diego. I served 2 combat cruises to Vietnam, flying fighters. In '73, I became a U.S. Navy Top Gun graduate. It was an extraordinary legacy being part of the real Top Gun era. After the Navy, I went to work for General Dynamics Corporation for 20 years in Europe, supporting their aerospace F-16 program to NATO. I have a private company. It's a veteran-owned small biz. We provide geospatial products to federal, state, and county agencies, in particular to Hillsborough County, SwiftMud, which is the Southwest Florida Water Management District, and Tampa Bay Water. I live in that community, which has the pickleball issue, and I'm here today basically to request that the Commission take immediate action, including seeking relief to prohibit the community's HOA planned construction and operation of the pickleball courts within close proximity to private residences and preserve the sanctity and value of our homes. This is not, and I'm against recreation, but to preserve our neighborhoods' well-being, which are not designed or zoned to withstand pickleball's continuous industrial-level noise. Installing these courts in a private residential area purposely shifts the burden from public enjoyment to private hardship. The issues, again, are noise pollution, loss of property values, and I think we all pay a significant property tax in that community, and they're looking at 20% devaluation of our homes with the pickleball in that community. The other thing is the health and well-being, which reduces quality of life to the residents. In conclusion, I ask the Commission to halt the pickleball operations. I know they're pushing 200 feet. I prefer 600 feet at a minimum. I live within 100 feet of that court area that it's under consideration. Our homes are our private refuge. Please act now to protect Hillsborough County residents' quality of life and the value of our investments. I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Last speaker this morning, Thomas Cobert. Morning.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good morning. My name is Tom Cobert. DOGE comes to Hillsborough County. The board appointed a DOGE advisory council. A state DOGE group has arrived to audit the county. The first thing they claimed was the millage rate was too high. A lower rate would benefit wealthy home and business owners. The middle class, not so much. The reality is the middle class is being pushed out of home ownership. Home insurance is out of reach for many homeowners, especially if flood insurance is needed. Homeowners whose homes were damaged or destroyed during the hurricanes the last few years found out that the state legislature and the governor had passed legislation that completely favored the insurance industry. Insurance companies started to refuse to cover claims. Insurance companies' response to people when they complained was sue. The only recourse homeowners had at this point was arbitration. State law left the choice of the arbitrator to the insurance companies. Guess how many of the arbitration claims filed, the homeowners won? Probably not too many. No one in the media covered many people who were forced into foreclosure because they had no way to fix their homes. After being forced into renting, people found out how expensive the rental market is. Hedge funds and investors are buying up homes and rentals and squeezing as much profit as possible out of them. The board at one time restricted rental price increases to 5% when someone renewed their lease. The governor put an end to that. There is fraud, waste, and abuse, but it is being inflicted on the people by the government. Our federal government is currently being operated as a dictatorship. Our country is rapidly becoming an oligarchy. The wealthy have attempted to destroy our democracy 3 times in the past. This is the 4th attempt. What stopped them in the past was the American people. We will again. The Japanese in World War II called the American people a sleeping giant, and that if we awakened, our wrath would be terrible to behold. People are stirring. Resistance is not futile. It is a responsibility as Americans. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. All right, that closes public comment. Can we have a motion to approve the consent?
So moved.
Motion, Commissioner Wostel, second, Commissioner Myers. Please record your vote on the consent agenda.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, Bonnie, want to introduce first time certain?
Thank you. The first time certain item is item B2. This is to approve the interlocal agreement with Hillsborough County Sheriff for their provision of inmate medical health care services. We have several people who are here for this item. Kevin Wagner will present the item. Kevin Brickey is here if you have questions. And we have Colonels Robert Ura and Robert Rodriguez, Chief Deputy Frank Lozat, and William Spinelli, also from the Sheriff's Office. I'll turn it over to you, Kevin.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Kevin Wagner, Healthcare Services Department. Item B2, again, is asking the board to approve the interlocal agreement with Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Conister for the provision of inmate medical services by use of the indigent trust funds. This is currently funded with countywide general funds at approximately $45 million, and it's estimated that at least 1/3 of the inmates could participate in the county's health care plan. The program presented today is designed to be innovative and cost-effective for potential health care plan clients to have their health care paid for by the health care fund while incarcerated. These clients will have continued access for medical services and medications upon their release. This program really works from a continuity of care program or standpoint with the Orient Road step-down facility that's under renovation construction with the ARP dollars that were approved by the board with the anticipated opening of January, February 2026. Separately, this agreement, by using the Indigent Trust Fund, reduces the amount of the countywide general funds for inmate medical care services. The agreement shall be in effect if approved by the board from October 1, 2024 to September 30, 2027, with a 15.7 annual not-to-exceed amount. Funding for this agreement is included in the FY25 healthcare services budget and incorporated in the FY proposed 26 as well. No county ad valorem funds are needed. The development of this program further promotes the partnership between the Sheriff's Office and the county. Staff recommends approval of this item, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And HCSO representatives are here as well.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Wostel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have several questions for you. Who's eligible for indigent health care?
Individuals in Hillsborough County residents with an income at or below 175% of the poverty level.
And there's a term that we've used, I've heard several times, both from this department and the administrator, a term, the medically poor. That's a term that I've heard staff use quite a bit.
I don't use that term, but I do use the term indigent, yes.
And do we consider the medically poor in terms of being eligible for this program?
I think the answer would be yes, based upon the income requirements and the policies and the residency, yes.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. I only know that term because I've heard it from staff. It's unfortunate the administrator doesn't recall using it, but that is where I got it from when I was first brought into here, the medically poor. And I always found that to be a really strange item. I have apprehensions about rewarding criminals with taxpayers' money to receive better health care in the community than those that have not committed crimes and are working paycheck to paycheck, single moms in the community that will receive less health care than what they themselves are paying into a tax on. So that's why I have these questions. Are you familiar with why this tax exists?
The tax, the 9119? Sure. Back in 1990, the tax was approved by the board, supermajority. Again, it was due to rising healthcare costs of the community. There was also a need of the costs that were being transferred at TGH from the general fund from the Board of County Commissioners because the hospital was the county hospital at the time. So there was that need for rising healthcare costs. The costs that occurred at TGH were the primary drivers of that because the board at itself were very foresight in thinking about the rising healthcare costs in the community.
But it's for the Medicare gap, correct?
Generally, yes. From a specific policy standpoint, 18 to 64 would be the Medicare gap, correct.
It's specifically for the Medicare gap. Everything else aside, I know I have the transcript.
Sure.
I have it memorized. It was for the Medicare gap. What is the Medicare gap now in Hillsborough County?
So the Medicare gap, if we look at the uninsured population of 19 to 64, according to the census, we're about 60,000 people at incomes of 0 to 199% of the population. So that would be kind of the gap from a conversation standpoint.
But what's the dollar amount?
The dollar amount, I would have to look at that. I don't know that offhand.
You're the director of the department. I mean, we don't know the dollar amount that indigent, the item we're talking about, is required for us to pay back to the state to cover this gap?
Oh, that gap, the Medicare contribution that the county pays, this is going to be $29 million FY26.
Thank you, because that's what this tax is for. That's what it was created for. That was the initiative that drove it all the way back from Phyllis Busansky and Karl Marx. That's where this tax came from. That's what the coverage is for, because of the mandate to cover those costs. So 29 million or 26 million a year?
I think it increases every year. I believe the FY26 is going up to 29.
Okay, and how much does this tax generate every year?
This particular year in a sales tax revenue, it's going to be just under 200 million, sir.
So we're taxing our residents $200 million a year for a burden that's original intent is only burdening them $29 million a year.
I would agree with that statement from a standpoint that is, we are funding that $29 million of the Medicaid contribution for the county for this item.
Out of a $200 million a year burden on the residents of Hillsborough County that they themselves did not vote to burden themselves. The Hillsborough County Commissioners does. We're the only county in the state of Florida that does this through this measure of 212.055 subsection 4. How much reserves does the Indigent Health Care Fund have right now?
In May of 2025, it was approximately $493 million.
And for the record, none of this is you. You're a new director of this department. I want to clear that up for anyone watching. You just happen to be here. I'm just getting facts out into the open, okay? So how much were the reserves? I'm sorry?
In May 2025, $493 million.
So is it standard in Hillsborough County government that we maintain over 200% reserve levels for a budget of people's taxes?
fine, clearly.
So we did bring forward to the board the expenses that are associated with this. The revenue has increased significantly, and I think we brought to you that the reserves have been increasing over time. The reason we are looking at this is because this is one way to legitimately, pursuant to the law, to utilize the reserves. We recognize that could possibly be appropriate to reduce the tax. We do not legally have that ability to do that. We do not have legally the ability to pause the tax. So this is where we are at the particular moment.
The commissioners put the tax into place, right?
Yes.
So that we don't have the ability to amend it. Is that correct?
Okay.
If I may, Mr. Chair, the board should be aware that the state had a recent amendment to this statute that's effective. The governor signed it June 30th. And at this point going forward, those counties, which I think we're the only one who did it by ordinance, can now repeal or reduce it, or eliminate it or reduce it under certain terms and conditions. I think it's a higher vote, but that is now allowable by state law, which it was not based on a prior amendment that was passed just a couple of years ago.
So just to go back over it again, we have a $29 million a year annual burden of something, which was the original intent of the tax, that we are burdening our taxpayers without their consent $200 million a year, and now we are keeping almost $500 million a year in reserve for this item that only requires a $29 million reimbursement of its original intent. Now, in the original meeting, Commissioner Jan Platt required that for the provision for when the state and federal government initiated the new plan, then the board will look at its ability to revoke. Have we ever considered the Affordable Health Care Act of 2010 and whether or not that new federal program would have required this to come back to the board at that point to review whether or not we should continue this tax? Have we ever done that?
I don't know if we have done that, and I think we need to clarify that the expenses of this plan are not $29 million a year.
I don't need any clarification. It was very clear on September the 3rd of 1991, the county administrator, the assistant county administrator, Pat Bean, and the 7 county commissioners had a full dialogue. You can request the cassette tapes, if we can find a cassette player, to play them. And the original intent was to cover the Medicare gap that exists. So I want to be extremely clear about that. I don't need any correction on the matter. I do believe that we need to have a very serious conversation. Again, we're taxing people without their knowledge. In fact, everyone, even in staff, didn't believe me, all the way back to someone that's been here since 1992, did not believe me that this tax was put into place without a vote of the general electorate. They said that that's impossible, including 20 states' legislatures when I started working with on this over 2 years ago. It's a serious issue. I absolutely hate the way that staff drafted the language on this agenda. It makes it look like we're opposing the sheriff when we're absolutely not if we vote no on this. I don't know how this pertains to reducing recidivism, an effort of the sheriff that I have fully supported and continue to support. I just don't believe that it's appropriate that criminals will go out and be harvested into a program off of the backs of taxpayers who themselves are struggling to maintain health care for their own households. And I really hope that we have a very serious conversation about the history of this tax and the burden that it's laid out on our community. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Myers?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to go back to year probably 2007, 2009, when I was an employee in the Health and Social Services Department for Hillsborough County. One of the suggestions that I made back then, because the county was serving the inmates in the jail through our indigent healthcare program. And once they were released, we had a case manager over at the jail to make sure they remain into our program. And this is something I was pushing for back then because we were already paying for medical services for the for the inmates who were in jail. Yes, these are inmates who meet the criteria of being in the indigent healthcare program. Majority of the inmates lived in my district, District 3. And so I thought it was a win-win for our county to be able to provide those same services to them once they was released from jail. They can continue to have health care services. We all know health care is a part of our economy. So when they get sick, they went to one of our centers, whether it's Tampa Family Health Care Center or whether it's Suncoast, or they end up at Tampa General. All those was a part of the indigent health care plan. Today, what I see is a win-win for our county to partner with the sheriff on these dollars, 15 million, 15.7 million, to continue to be able to serve the citizens of Hillsborough County who want us to continue their health care. They're already in our jails and we're serving them now. In addition to that, we've had people to come from around the world to look at our program to see how they can go back to their state and implement a wonderful health care plan program that we have here in Hillsborough County. So I stand and I'm going to move forward. I'm going to make a motion that we approve the item as presented, B2.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion to approve by Commissioner Meyer, second Commissioner Cohen. Commissioner Bowles?
I have a question for Ms. Wise, if possible, and actually have similar concerns about the growing reserve and whatnot that happens. If we approve this item and it shows from 24 to 27, so we still have 2 years left that we would be funding this 15.7 million, which again, I'm all in Sheriff Cronister's court, and I believe that we need to support our sheriff's office. If there is a change made to this and there's a reduction in that 200 million that we're seeing each year, would those 15.7 million, would that be able to come from the reserves? Or would that be expected to come from that? Or is this in addition to the expenses we already have? You see where I'm going with this?
I'm not positive, but let me try, and if I don't get to your question. There are sufficient dollars to pay the operating expenses of the fund, as well as this 15.7. This 15.7 is already incorporated into the 2025 budget, and it is not taken from the countywide taxpayer dollars instead. It is coming from this restricted revenue source. It's already built in for 2025. It's late in the fiscal year, we realize. It did take some time for us to do this. It has taken some time. We need to ensure that the people who are actually covered by this money truly are indigent and do fall within the plan. And so it did take us a little bit of time to get this. The 15.7 is also incorporated into the 2026 budget. So there are adequate dollars, even if the 200 million declines to some lesser amount, there will still be sufficient dollars to cover this. Did I get to what you were asking?
Yeah, so okay. If just to follow up, if we as a board decide to based on the new change in the law that Ms. Beck provided, that some guidance on, if we decide to just say cut whatever it is in half, because maybe we see there's a need, but we cut it in half, there's still going to be funds at least for this to cover it for the next 2 years. We're not going to have to go grab money out of some other piggy bank to do this.
Yes, sir. There are still funds.
All right,
yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wilstrom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clear up one thing that's cited within your department's agenda item, which was section 951.032. Can you explain to the commissioners what that section is and what is supposed to be the first and proper course of action to recoup medical expenses for people that are housed inside the correction facility?
Sure, of course. That statute outlines what the commissioner just said, the order of operations for recouping funds for individuals who are housed. That specific section says, Florida statute which provides that a county detention facility incurring expenses for providing medical care, treatment, hospitalization, or transportation may seek reimbursement for expenses in the following order: from the prisoner, from an insurance company, health corporation, or other source as available. So it lays out the order at which the detention facility can try to recoup funds for medical services.
Which includes garnishing the prisoner's money account when they're in there, levying anything on their assets. Do we know if we actually make those attempts to recoup money from the prisoners? Like, do we actually make sure that that's the program that's in place?
We would have to defer to HCSO, respectfully.
Okay, so when we never I mean, we referenced it, but we never clarified it throughout the course of proposing this with HCSO, if they have this program in place?
They adhered to their operations, and from our conversation, they were going after funds appropriately. The order of operations, we would defer to them respectfully.
Okay, and I'm just gonna make one final point about this whole medically poor thing. Attorney General's Order 2005-55 to the Honorable Jim Norman, specifically referencing indigent care surtax used for Medicaid contributions. He specifically wrote that it would appear inappropriate to use those funds to pay the mandatory Medicaid contributions for those individuals who qualify as medically poor because they are not eligible for coverage under the Medicaid program. In Attorney General Opinion 2004-40, this office considered similar provisions in another subsection of this same statute, subsection 7. And that opinion addressed the use of voter-approved indigent care surtax proceeds for the payment of a county's mandatory Medicaid contributions for the medically poor, and like this opinion, concluded that indigent care surtax money should not be utilized for the medically poor purpose for those residents who are certified as medically poor and who are eligible for any other state or federal program. So I think that there is a lot of questions and a lot of confusions that's going on with this program. This has absolutely nothing to do with supporting or not supporting the sheriff's office. This has to do with my huge concerns about the mismanagement of the reserves of this. The board's policy on reserves are 20 to 25%. I think that we need to have a serious conversation before we get sued over this specific budget. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Miller?
Thank you, Chair. Our colleague brings up lots of great points, and I hope that we can address them at some other point in time. But I think focused on today, I have a couple of questions. So upon approval of this, we would be shifting money from an account that has $493 million in reserves to cover these particular operations at the sheriff's office. That will thereby then alleviate that money from the general fund, correct?
So I just want to clarify, it is true, it is alleviating, it is not, I would want to go back to the word shifting because it's already incorporated into the budget. But yes, it is utilizing those funds instead of utilizing general funds. It is already in the budget.
And per our briefing, you're working closely with the sheriff's office to make sure that only those inmates that would qualify if they were not inmates would be eligible for their services to be covered under this money, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It would be my hope, because I do think you brought up some good points, that perhaps we could either have a workshop or some better understanding of the issues that my colleague brought up for the future, because if there's an opportunity to relieve a tax burden on the people of Hillsborough County, I would be interested in furthering that conversation. Thank you.
Commissioner Cohen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with that sentiment. I think that whatever discussions there need to be going forward, it doesn't negate the fact that this is a very, very creative way of creating more money in the general fund for all of the things that we know we need so desperately. So I think that it's very prudent to go forward with this, and I want to express my appreciation to the Sheriff's Office for working with us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we got a motion to approve by Commissioner Myers, second Commissioner Cohen. Please record your vote.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1. Commissioner Wostel voted no.
Okay, Bonnie, we got 9:45.
Thank you. Our 9:45 is item E1. This is to receive a special appearance by Chip Whitworth, Vice President of Electric Delivery for Tampa Electric Company, regarding plans for the upcoming hurricane season.
Good morning, sir.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. I'm Chip Whitworth, Vice President of Electric Delivery at Tampa Electric. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today and for your continued partnership as we work together to help Hillsborough County stay safe, resilient, and ready for whatever the storm season may bring. You know, reflecting on historic storm season in 2024, hurricane season was one of the most significant in our region's history. After Hurricane Debbie grazed our region in August, late September brought Hurricane Helene with unprecedented storm surge and power outages for about 30% of our customers, around 250,000 customers. Just 9 days later, Category 3 Hurricane Milton ripped directly across our service territory, leaving about 70% of our customers out of power, approximately 600,000. Over the course of the season, we mobilized our largest restoration effort ever, combined around 9,500 workers from across the United States and Canada. Those efforts allowed us to efficiently restore power for essentially all customers within just 1 day after Helene and within 7 days after Milton. Despite these impacts, I want to emphasize that outages are inevitable with intense storms and that our system performed remarkably well under these circumstances. The primary causes of power outages were flooding and widespread downed and damaged trees. I'm proud to share that our response earned national recognition, including the Edison Electrical Institute's Emergency Response Award and Chartwell's Bronze Award for outage communications, as well as local recognitions that we greatly appreciate. Our year-round commitment to preparedness. We've been able to meet incredible challenges, like last year's storm season head-on. That's because for us, storm readiness is a year-round commitment, and it is incorporated into every aspect of our operations. Our preparedness is a credit to our team members' commitment to this community and our customers. Our team members live in the communities we serve and endure the same hardships our customers experience during and after severe weather. Regardless, they respond as soon as it is safe to do so and work tirelessly to restore power until every single customer's power is restored. In addition to our personal commitment to readiness is our storm protection plan, the cornerstone of our year-round preparedness. It represents long-term strategic investments in grid resilience designed to reduce the frequency and duration of outages, accelerate restoration times, and strengthen our infrastructure against increasingly severe weather events. Our storm protection plan focuses on 3 critical areas: strengthening infrastructure, undergrounding power lines, and managing trees and other vegetation, all of which are vital to improving our system's resiliency and reliability. Since we launched this plan in 2020, we've made significant system enhancements. Without those, the 2024 hurricane season would surely have caused more significant damage to our grid and resulted in longer, more costly power restorations. Our storm protection plan is a model of efficiency grounded in careful analysis of the most important solutions for our customers. And I'm proud to say today that through this initiative, more than 90% of our transmission poles have been converted from wood to steel or concrete. We've also shortened power outages by 27% and dropped the number of momentary outages by 67%. Beyond our storm protection plan, we've made other critical improvements over the years. For example, more than half of our 12,000-mile distribution system is underground. These underground lines are 4 times less likely to fail during a storm, and we continue to expand this footprint each year where it's prudent. We've also elevated electrical equipment and coastal substations to protect against flooding. To further support service reliability, we're enhancing the safety and security of critical Tampa Electric facilities. Our new Category 5 rated Various Operations Center strengthens our ability to manage extreme weather and evolving cybersecurity risks. It also allows for faster, more coordinated restoration efforts, helping to minimize service disruptions. Tampa Electric is also investing in smart self-healing technology that can transform the way we deliver power It detects disruptions on the grid, automatically restores electricity around those anomalies. In many cases, it restores power in seconds and without the need for a crew to be dispatched. In areas where we've been able to install the self-healing technology, customers experience 50% fewer outages. And when outages do occur, restoration is faster and more efficient. Tree trimming is equally critical. Downed and damaged trees are the leading cause of hurricane-related outages. In 2024 alone, we trimmed limbs and debris from more than 3,300 miles of overhead lines. This work is guided by certified arborists and foresters who help us balance electric reliability with environmental stewardship. And we've been recognized nationally for our commitment to responsible tree care. For 17 consecutive years, Tampa Electric has been honored by the Arbor Day Foundation and National Association of State Foresters as a Tree Line USA utility. Our partnership with Port Tampa Bay, one of our most impactful collaborations to support our region's resilience, is with Port Tampa. The port is a hub of critical infrastructure, including fuel terminals and wastewater facilities. More than half of Florida's fuel flows through the port. The reliability of their electric service is essential to the state's economy and emergency response capabilities. In partnership with the port, we've implemented a multi-phase resiliency project that includes substation modifications, elevated control houses, and underground circuits for key facilities. This initiative will be completed before the 2026 storm season and will significantly enhance the port's ability to withstand and recover from major events. Restoration procedures. It is important to know that after a major weather event, Tampa Electric begins damage assessment and power restoration as soon as it is safe to do so. We first seek to repair any damage to our power plants, transmission lines, and substations. Without those in working order, electricity can't reach homes and businesses. Then, where transmission lines and substations are operational, we repair the associated distribution lines, prioritizing those that serve essential services such as hospitals, water treatment facilities, major transportation hubs, and first responders. We next focus on repairs that restore power to the largest number of customers and are easiest to fix to maximize efficiency of restoration. Finally, we address isolated outages that require more intensive effort and resources. All of that said, the restoration process is not strictly linear. The conditions such as flooding and debris can shift our priorities due to access constraints. Like other utilities, we provide an estimated restoration time, which is a projected date and time when we expect to have restored power to most customers who can safely receive it. In some cases, like with Milton, we can break that estimate down by county within our region. Our estimates are based on the best available information from our initial damage assessment and can change as conditions evolve during the restoration process. You know, every storm provides valuable insights, and we capture those insights and we act on them to become even more resilient. For example, we're making improvements to better protect our equipment in areas most at risk from flooding and change based on what we experienced through the 2024 hurricane season. Each year we conduct a mock storm to test our plans and lessons learned, and we improve from that exercise as well. We continue to proactively identify, prioritize, and collaborate with critical facilities like hospitals and emergency services and infrastructure providers to support their effective response in the event of severe weather. And commissioners, you know, Tampa Electric enters this hurricane season from a position of strength. Our system is resilient, our planning is deliberate, and our investments are founded in what is prudent for the communities we serve. We continuously refine our operations to enhance our performance and readiness. We maintain a 99.98% service reliability, which reflects our commitment to operational excellence. Thank you for your support, your collaboration, and most of all, your trust. Tampa Electric is prepared for whatever the 2025 hurricane season may bring. And I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wentworth, for your presentation. I know I, for one, am comforted in knowing that TECO has a storm prevention plan that's, in fact, a year-round preparedness plan that, as you said, focuses on reducing duration outages, which, as you also indicated, are inevitable during extreme storms. So thank you very much. I know Commissioner Myers wanted to make some comments.
And thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chip, for coming to give us an update. Just wanted the public to know just what TICO planned to do during this hurricane season. Therefore, I move to receive the report.
Okay, I don't see anyone else in the queue. We've got a motion, Commissioner Myers, second Commissioner Wostel. Please record your vote.
Thank you.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Bonnie?
Thank you. We can move on to our 10 o'clock public hearings, and Josh Bellotti, with Director of Engineering and Operations, will take us through 3 public hearings. The first one is D1 regarding the HART CIP list.
Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Commissioners. Josh Bellotti, Engineering and Operations. This is a public hearing to approve the FY26 through 30 HART Capital Improvement Program list of projects funded by transportation impact fees, and to appropriate up to $56,054.10 in transportation impact fees over the next 5 years, subject to actual collections. The impact fee ordinance allows for transportation impact fees to be utilized for eligible HART capital improvements through the interlocal agreement, which defines the process. As you know, since transportation impact fees are gradually being replaced by mobility fees, the actual amount of impact fees collected will depend on the number of projects still subject to them. The impact fees are not eligible for operating or maintenance expenses, only for eligible capital expenditures. The agenda backup includes HART's impact fee justification report as supporting documentation of compliance with eligibility. I'll be happy to answer the questions you may have, and representatives from HART are here as well. And this is a public hearing.
Well, thanks, Josh. This public hearing, would anyone like to speak to the item? If not, can we have a motion? Motion, Commissioner Wostel, second Commissioner Myers. Please record your vote on D1.
Aye.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
D2.
Okay, ready for D2? Okay. This one is the annual public hearing to set the stormwater non-ad valorem assessment rates and the assessment roll for calendar year 2025. The stormwater assessment rates that are being proposed today and contained in the resolution in your backup material include no increases, and rates will remain unchanged from the previous year. The county will be incorporating the findings and recommendations from the recent Black and Veatch study into the rate study that's currently underway for the stormwater program, which will be brought back to the board to consider for the next calendar year assessment rates. Written notices of this year's proposed rates were mailed on July 15th to 4,578 property owners that'll either receive the assessment for the first time or have it modified due to property modifications. And this public hearing was duly noticed in the Tampa Bay Times on July 6th. The notices state that property owners have the right to file written objections. To date, Public Works has received 0 written objections to the 2025 stormwater assessment. And this is a public hearing.
All right, this public hearing, would anyone like to speak to this item?
Hi, I'm Denise Herndon. I don't know what this assessment actually entails, but I know at the northwest corner of Gornto Lake Road and Town Center, they're building a new affordable housing, and it's nice to see that the whole community is going to be affordable housing, but it's taking up a lot of land that water isn't going to be drained into now. That whole area between 60 and Town Center Mall on Gornto Lake Road has been an area where stormwater goes into it. And I know in the past, they say engineers, they've figured this out for 100-year floods, but we're having amazing amounts of, a lot of amount of water coming down. And this isn't unusual for Florida. I've been a resident of Florida since I was 8 months old, and I'm 66 and a half right now. And I've been in Hillsborough County over 32 years. And I just wonder what is going on with the stormwater and the engineers actually adjusting for the storm. Oh, we can't, it's nature, we can't account for this fast downflow. This has been going on for many years in Florida. and you do have to account for it. And this new apartment complex at the northwest corner of Gornto Lake Road and Town Center, it was permitted long before any of this. What is going to be happening with this water that's not going to go into this corner now? A few years ago, the southeast and the southwest corners were nothing but land, and they have apartments on it. This is right next to the Brandon Town Center. Some people worry about, the indigent and affordable housing. If the people who manage these places take care of them properly, there shouldn't be problems like what happened around University. So I want to know, was this considered? Because this permit was long before these storms that we've had. And there's been issues around these areas now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harden. Would anyone else like to speak to the item? If not, we have a motion.
Move approval.
Motion,
Second.
Commissioner Wostel, second, Commissioner Myers. Please record your vote on D2.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
D3.
Okay, D3 is a public hearing to establish the separate uniform rates for the various residential street lighting districts provided in the agenda backup, and to adopt the non-ad valorem assessment for street lighting for the 2025 tax year. As a reminder, the street lighting assessment is a pass-through, as revenues from this non-ad valorem assessment are used to pay for the cost of the street lighting services provided by TECO. Nearly 800 individual street lighting districts across the county participate in this voluntary program. For the 2025 tax year, no general or overall program rate increases are proposed. However, within the program, adjustments have been made to individual street lighting district rates to more accurately reflect their unique pricing for TECO's services. As a result of that, properties within those districts may see increases or decreases compared to their prior year assessment. The full list of individual district rates is included in the backup for this item. This public hearing was duly advertised in the Tampa Bay Times, and written notices were sent via first-class mail for each of the nearly 130,000 parcels assessed in this program. The notices highlight the proposed 2025 assessment and any change from previous, as well as inform property owners of the public hearing and their right to file written objections. To date, Public Works has received 4 written objections to the 2025 street lighting assessment. And this is a public hearing.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak to
I'd
the
like
item?
to speak.
Paul,
Yes, I would like to speak.
Yes, Paul Padana, virtual. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to speak about this issue. I oppose this street lighting assessment. This is the first time I've ever heard of being charged or taxed separately for street lighting in an HOA community. I've lived in HOA communities for over 30 years in Florida and have never been charged separately for street lighting. Street lighting is essential for safety. It is not a luxury, and it benefits everyone in the community, including law enforcement. Should the county then go ahead and have a special tax for law enforcement and fire crime areas? So if this is the case, then I should get a discount in my neighborhood because we live in a safe community, and law enforcement does not have to patrol our streets as much as they have to in higher crime areas. So I oppose this issue. I oppose this special tax vehemently, and I think it's unjustified and unwarranted.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Next up is Eli Niegels, virtually.
Madam Chair, Eli did not sign into the meeting.
Thank you very much. Do we have a Mark Zanella in person?
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to make a few comments this morning about the the streetlight assessment rate. That was a pretty big increase this year for me. Last year, I paid $241.73. Thank you. This year, the proposed rate is $419.74. That's a 42% increase over last year. And I don't have the figures like you guys do, or whoever comes up with this. I do know a lot of people have moved to Florida, especially since the 2017 hurricane. But a lot of people have also moved out of Florida because there's not a lot of high-tech jobs now. And with AI doing what it's doing, really getting rid of a lot of white-collar jobs, a lot of STEM jobs, especially in the coding area. So people are leaving Tampa. It's a great place, a nice cost of living, but there aren't very many good-paying jobs that they're used to seeing if they're coming from up north or out west. They're not here. Another question I have is, why are taxpayers covering the cost of new street lighting instead of the home builders? I mean, home builders pay for the cost of putting roads in the development they build. Why are they not paying for the cost of the street lighting? That's something that can be incorporated in the closing documents, and they can get reimbursed for their expenses when these houses are finally closed and transitioned to the home buyer. I'm not a socialist. I didn't wear the uniform for over 25 years to pay somebody else's bill. And that's what I feel like is going on here. I think the home builders need to take this on. And I don't know how the county commission or the state or whoever would be able to start the process of looking into that to see if that's a change that possibly can be made. But I mean, at this rate, in 5 years from now, I'll be paying $1,000 a year for streetlight assessments. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I know you guys have a lot on your plate. I hope this gets some consideration at least down the road. It seems to be that you guys are paying attention to detail with how funds are being incorporated, and I appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. That closes public comment. Commissioner Bowles?
Josh, can I ask you a question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Going back to the first speaker that spoke virtually, can you provide a very brief synopsis on how and people are billed? Because it sounds like he's never heard of being billed, but this gentleman knows he's being billed. And a very brief explanation as to why there is such a jump and how it's basically a refining of our system.
Yes, so the first speaker is a resident in a street lighting district that was just established. It was annexed at the public hearing last year. So this is the first time that they're receiving an assessment.
And then to this gentleman's point, he's saying that he's got a large jump in his cost going up, but that's directly associated with a refining of our system of how we've GIS mapped every single streetlight, correct? And that where we were kind of doing an across-the-board billing and kind of spreading the wealth amongst everybody, kind of a socialist thing. Now we're actually making those who are actually using those systems in a higher rate than others. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the street lighting program has been around for some time. It was established by ordinance in 1990. And for many years, the assessment rates were based on a classification. The county would classify all of the different districts based on the type of light fixture they had, for example. But the actual cost that the county incurs to pay TECO for the service is based on a lot of different factors: the type of the distribution equipment, the number of poles in the community, the distribution or density of those poles relative to the number of parcels. So all those different factors weren't able to be considered. But like you mentioned, now we have the tools to be able to break that down. And instead of just having a few classifications, we can break down the individual district costs. So we have 800 individual lighting district costs now that are directly based on their cost of service from TECO.
And unfortunately, this is the most efficient way we can do this.
This is most directly tied to the cost of the service, this methodology here. And the other thing, about the last speaker, their lighting district has larger lots with a higher frontage. And so, again, what that means is there's less number of parcels to spread the cost of the service among.
And the last question I'll ask is, how often do we anticipate increases?
So the county only makes increases to its assessment in response to increased costs of service. So if there are rate increases approved by the service provider, that's what would prompt the county to need to make an assessment to cover those additional costs. But because this is a pass-through service, it's really directly tied to that cost of service.
All right, thank you, sir.
Commissioner Wilson?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I wish the other speaker would have stayed. I've already engaged TICO about why we're still doing this. I'm still waiting for an answer. They also weren't sure, and that's because we've just been doing it since 1974. And it's never been looked at again. Josh and I have talked about this. Director Bellotti and I have talked about this a couple of times. There's essentially an unnecessary 4% overhead because he's got to recoup his staff's time doing it on this. I'm gonna let them figure out if they're okay with it, and if they are, that'd be great if we can find out a way to sunset this and turn it over to them, or even implement a program where it's like, hey, if this is how you guys, because HOAs have the authority to enter into these agreements, I believe, by state law, which we wouldn't be able to prevent. I lived in an HOA that had TICO that was not a special street lighting district, but the HOA's fees were just paying the high amounts for the poles and everything, which is essentially what we're doing. So they can do this directly with the HOA already, which I believe is what should be happening, and hopefully TICO can give me an answer. But I wanted them to understand that this is not a tax. They would be paying it either way, whether they're reviewing it on their property tax bill or they're reviewing it in their HOA bylaws. They're going to be paying this fee either way and make that decision on whether or not they want to live in that home. So it's not really us taxing them. And so with that being said, I'm gonna move for approval. I will say the 42% sounds pretty egregious, which is another reason we should maybe get it out from underneath us, because we can't do anything about it. So I will move for approval for now, and hopefully we can get a resolution to this from TICO soon.
I'll second it.
I got a motion to approve D3 by Commissioner Wilstel, second Commissioner Miller. Please record your vote.
Aye.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thanks, Josh. Bonnie?
Thank you. The next item is item B3. This is to approve a refunding bond issue, and Kevin Brickey will take us through this item. We do have representatives from our bond counsel and financial advisor if necessary.
Good morning, Kevin.
And there's always me.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kevin Brickey, Management and Budget. This item asks you to approve the authorizing and supplemental resolutions for the issuance of a not-to-exceed $55 million capital improvement non-ad valorem refunding revenue bond, Series 2025, to refund all or a portion of the previously issued Series 2015 Community Services Tax Revenue Bonds. This will generate $2.4 million in net present value savings for the county. The resolution will provide for the covenanting to budget, appropriate, and deposit legally available non-ad valorem funds for the payment. The maturity date will remain at October 1, and the item also authorizes the approval of related documents, authorizations, and delegations. Thank you.
Okay. We don't have any questions or comments? Grant a motion?
Move approval.
Motion,
Second.
Commissioner Wilstel, second Commissioner Myers. Please record your vote on B3.
Aye.
Motion carried 7-0.
Bonnie?
Thank you. Those are our time certain items. We can now move to the regular agenda. The first item is item B1, And this is to ask staff to draft a mobility fee alternative satisfaction agreement and other documents. And Adam Gormley will take us through this item.
Morning, Adam.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Adam Gormley with Development Services Department. Item B1 is related to a proposed public-private partnership for the realignment of Old Big Bend Road. Old Big Bend Road currently runs just north of Big Bend Road and runs between I-75 and Lincoln Road. That's the area of focus for this realignment. Formerly, there was an intersection opening at Big Bend Road and Simmons Road that would connect to Old Big Bend Road, which has been closed due to proximity of the intersection to Big Bend Road. The proposal would move Old Big Bend Road north, allow the reestablishment of a northern leg of what's Simmons Loop Road that runs by Hospital, and open that as a four-way intersection. Would also realign Old Big Bend Road at Lincoln Road, moving the intersection north, providing for enhanced safety and connectivity. This improvement would significantly benefit the area both from a safety and operational standpoint, as well as provide additional connections for vehicular travel. The item today is requesting that the board authorize and direct staff to draft a mobility fee alternative satisfaction agreement. And this would be an agreement between 4 proposed participating developers to have the developers construct this improvement and use their mobility fees to fund the portion of the project that would represent excess capacity. That's capacity that's not consumed by the developments themselves. Secondly, we're asking the board to direct us to draft a land transfer agreement, and this would be for a portion of the road that would go over Parks property. Right now, it's not developed as a park use, and it has significant floodplain on it. This exchange agreement would provide for an acre per acre compensation to Parks Department of the use of land that would be used for right-of-way to be used by the Parks Department. We have been meeting with developers, the participating developers, and have some general terms, but this item would authorize us to formalize those terms and agreements and bring those back to the board for approval. I'll just lastly note that on May 21st, the board did authorize what I'd call the first phase of this to include a portion of the Old Big Bend Road right-of-way in a pending rezoning application that would result in the relocation of Big Bend Road at Lincoln Road, and that would be a small portion of the project. The rest of it would extend considerably further to the west. Available for any questions.
All right, thanks, Adam. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move approval.
Second.
Motion, Commissioner Wostel, second, Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Myers, do you make any comments? Okay.
Well, yeah. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. That this is a project that is in my district, and we know when it comes to traffic and all, we want these two developers and the landowners to work very quickly and expeditiously to make sure that the commuters can have easy access to Big Bend and Lincoln Road very quickly, and we can continue to work together to expedite this project.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Please record your vote.
Aye.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thanks, Adam. Bonnie?
Thank you. The next 2 items are Commissioner Westel's items, item F1 and F2.
Commissioner Wostel?
The first one is very simple. This was a legacy item that was left remaining in the budget after a past proposal that never received funding for us to grant a match that never occurred for HART. So my motion is to remove line item 10364 from page 164 from the fiscal year 26 budget.
Second. I'll second.
Okay, motion, Commissioner Wostel, second, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. I don't see any comments. Please record your vote.
Aye.
Motion carried 7-0.
Commissioner Wostel?
Thank you. And for reference, I only found that because, yes, I get bored and I read the county's budget. I'm going to do this one in 2 different parts. I was stunned to find out that there are over 200 lawsuits that I've been able to find throughout the nation all pertaining to HOAs and local municipalities concerning pickleball courts. I've never really been around one myself until I started reading the issues that a lot of the public comment that you heard, the decibel levels exceed even our own noise ordinances in certain cases, and that's because a tennis racket is hollow plastic. A tennis ball is hollow rubber, and then it bounces on a soft clay court. Pickleball is a hard racket with a solid ball bouncing on a hardened asphalt, and that's where a lot of the issues that you've heard earlier come from. I don't feel like in a county that has almost 1,000 HOAs, that's how many Hillsborough County has, and growing, as we just found out, that we should expose our residents to this legal turmoil that has gone on for years in other jurisdictions, and it's just making our way here. And as we heard, it's now in Hillsborough County. It's already in Boca Raton, and it's somewhere north of here that I forget. One municipality I found had awarded damages of $18 million against them in like Oregon. I know San Diego, I think it was, lost a lawsuit. And who knows? The problem, if you've ever sued anybody, any good attorney is always going to tell you, well, you don't really know what a judge is going to do at the end of the day. And I don't want that to be what is left up to our residents. If we have the ability to properly plan, we've done a good job of facilitating pickleball in the past couple of years that I've been here, even before I got here. I know that we've advocated for and provided new pickleball courts. It's the fastest growing sport, I believe, in America, and I want us to be able to continue to do that safely for everyone's enjoyment, and also avoid us getting some unpredicted court ruling that might inhibit us from doing it and us being in control of the outcome rather than the courts. So I'm going to have two motions, and one is simply to direct staff to protect our neighborhoods and research the growing number of lawsuits against municipalities over pickleball and enhance our ability to continue to provide this growing activity by determining the appropriate sound ordinances and distances from residential homes that we might consider. That's my first motion.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Wilson, second Commissioner Bowles. Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to ask our county attorneys your thoughts, your opinion, what you've read about this, how this, when it comes to HOAs, and what the state has in place.
Yes, Commissioner. The state has the sole authority for the regulation of HOAs. This board does not have that authority under Florida law. They're also controlled by their individual covenants, so it is more of a private issue. With regard to this issue, we're happy to research and dig into this. We've already done some of that this weekend. We have not located particular cases in Florida. I think the ones that Commissioner Woostel is referring to are, nationwide, and of course it's probably heading this way, but we're happy to research that with regard to this motion and advise the board of what's out there.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cohen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I want to just say at the outset, I really sympathize with the people that spoke at the public comment. I've heard about this issue for many years. The reason it hasn't really come to us is because it's my constituents in the city of Tampa that tend to complain about it the most. And I know that there's been a lot of difficulty in terms of regulating it, particularly because of some of the state laws. And what I'm wondering is when the county attorney does their research into this, that perhaps one of the threads that I heard in the public comment was that perhaps the noise, the incessant noise, might have an impact on their property values. And maybe that's something that the county administrator could look at, whether or not we might approach it from that angle. I recognize, though, that this is a very difficult issue because of how preempted we are by the state. And my understanding of it is that our role in this is very limited, but perhaps if we can come at it from another angle, we might be able to find another way in the door.
Thank you. And I too I understand that the sound is horrendous. I mean, I certainly would not want to live next to one of these courts, but I also know the sport's exploded. I championed the county's first tournament complex in North Lakes in my district, and extremely popular, 7 a.m. on, but then again, it's not within 50 feet or 100 feet of a house. I fully support the motion, anything we can do to try and provide relief or to strengthen our neighborhoods, but at the same time, you just kind of want to set expectations, and that I've always been under the impression we have very limited oversight, if any, on HOAs, and then apparently Senate Bill 180 is even more restrictive on what we can do. So, but explore it. If there's something that we can do to provide relief, I'm fully supportive of it. Commissioner Wostel?
Thank you. We do have a lawsuit. It was filed on the 15th. You just might not have seen it yet. There is a lawsuit in Hillsborough County that was just filed on August the 15th. I didn't even know about it until the Tampa Bay Business Journal called me yesterday and told me that it was filed. So there is one in here, and I would just encourage staff to communicate with Development Services about we don't have authority over HOAs, but we do have permitting authority and growth authority and development authority. So I would just encourage us to communicate with Development Services about any opportunities that may exist. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Please record your vote.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Bonnie?
And Mr. Chair, my second.
Commissioner Wostel.
I broke this into two just because I have a feeling this one's going to die. I don't think that it should, but I know that the county attorney, and I didn't want the good part of it to die. So I disagree. I think that we've been way too generous about SB 180, and I'm frankly just incredibly tired of being just empty threats from it for the past several years. The two new commissioners, you haven't had to experience it too much, but they just overruled Hillsborough County specifically by adding PDs back into it, and I'm over the excuse of we have to wait for Senator Pasadomo to leave, and now I'm told that that's another year. I think that that's unacceptable for our community. I believe that SB 180 does not overrule every other laws that exist to protect people's private property rights. I just don't believe that for a second. Private property rights are written into the state's constitution themselves. A law cannot override the state constitution. I'm just at the point where, we've seen our neighbors, colleagues in Manatee County, they're canceling meetings because they are intentionally trying to go after SB 180. That is not what Hillsborough County has done. We have accepted people's property rights. We have acknowledged the need for us to measure our growth and expand our urban service area. We have never done anything to go after SB 180. Nowhere in there do I believe that the governor is going to look at this and say, oh, this also pertained to pickleball courts, so we're going to remove the Hillsborough County commissioners for not going by the law. I don't believe that that is for a moment what's going to happen if we say, hey, we need to put a pause on permitting of new pickleball courts. And I can't not fight for all of the people that you just heard come up here and speak. So I have to proceed with this motion, no matter the outcome. I know that any good attorney is going to tell you, hey, you have legal exposure, because they can't control. A judge just undid a long substantiated Hillsborough County ordinance that we've enforced several times, and that this same county attorney's office has defended successfully, and a judge just randomly said, oh, I don't believe it's constitutional anymore. I can't legislate by fear of these laws that are incredibly vague and have never been tested in the courts, and I just can't sit idly by anymore just because of the Live Local Act. So I motion to direct the county's Development Services Office to put a temporary hold on the permitting of new pickleball courts within 250 feet of residential homes until the appropriate distance is obtained by staff. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Wostel. Do we have a second?
I'll give it a second.
Second, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. Ms. Meg, did you want to say anything on?
I might be able to help the board just a little bit because I know this is a very difficult decision. What we're struggling with is the bill that you're aware of, Senate Bill 180, which just became law. It's brand new, July 1. It's distinguishable from the prior preemption in Senate Bill 250 that, as you'll recall, delayed our ability to impose the distance between vape shops and schools because of it until it was withdrawn, and then we were able to move forward. So this law, as drafted at least, makes it, portions of it basically prevent us from doing anything that's more burdensome or restrictive in our land development code. And to implement a stoppage of permits, that's what this would require, is a land development code amendment and the attenuant public hearings and so forth. But, you should certainly go into it with your eyes open with Senate Bill 180 because it does provide for the provision of attorney's fees to be awarded against us if it's successfully challenged. And I don't know the exact status of permits that are possibly out there now that could trigger that sort of action. So that's the information that I think you should all be aware of.
Okay, Commissioner Cohen?
Listen, if I thought that we could actually do this under the law, I'd be willing to go for the 600-foot zone. The problem here is that I think this is an absolute direct violation of the Senate bill that the county attorney just mentioned, and there are real consequences to getting in the way of it. So I can't be supportive of the motion, even though I'm supportive of the idea, and I hope that maybe the county attorney can come back to us on the first matter with some options, but I don't believe this is one that we can lawfully go for.
Okay. Don't see anyone else in the queue. Got a motion by Commissioner Worlstall, second Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. Please record your vote.
No.
Motion fails 3-4. Commissioners Miller, Cohen, Hagan, and Myers voted no.
Okay. Next item.
Thank you. The next item is the first staff report. This is to receive a report on the Bloomingdale Park property. This is item G1, and John Muller will present this item. This was a request of Commissioner Miller.
Good morning, John.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Board. Okay, there it is. Good morning. John Muller, Director for Facilities Management and Real Estate Services. As one of a few follow-ups to the surplus property briefing that our department presented on June 18th of this year, I'm here to present on an 11.85 acre site, which includes a 4.35 acre undeveloped park parcel. So the property resides in the Bloomingdale neighborhood area, very close to but not adjacent to Chimino Elementary. It is important to note that this parcel, which consists of a drainage pond and a green space, is ceded to the county for a lack of payments. Thus, the park was not one which was planned for by our Parks and Rec Department, and no improvements to it were forecasted. Please note that on this slide that the park was originally reserved when it was platted for use by the Oak Crest subdivision. It sits adjacent to a site owned by Fishhawk West, which has a currently approved PD, not yet built, but approved PD for 34 homes. I do want to note one correction on this slide. There was a typo. That year of plat was 1988, not 1998. And we'll submit a corrected version. So today, the county and the Fishhawk property have a trail on them from use. We did walk the site, and you can see that the trail is really a worn path. There is some evidence of dumping. Visibility for the majority of the path is as it appears in the middle photo. We did observe while they're a neighbor walking their dog. So to boil this slide down, there's a lot on here. Let me just say that in 2021, the county had the Fishhawk developer make a good faith attempt to install a safer, improved trail as part of their PD requirements. Based on public outreach, the decision was made at the time not to pursue the trail. We reviewed that previous public outreach in depth and found there was some indications of confusion because the trail was labeled Mason Oaks and Hawk Springs connection, not Oakcrest and Hawk Springs connection. We also determined that about 1/3 of the comments collected came from the direct community. Based on this review, we feel that a redo could be warranted here before we close the idea or close the door on the idea of a trail. So where are we today? Well, we still have the developer who is interested in an offer yet to be advertised or negotiated to provide a trail. The developer is seeking a utility easement underneath the trail. I note that the developer does not have to take this utility route, of course. It's a value proposition for them to obtain it. So our thought is, can we bring value to the community without increasing future costs to the taxpayers? With that said, our consideration for you today on this report is to return to the community for engagement regarding a safer walking trail on the county-owned parcel between Oakcrest and the future Hawk Springs subdivision. This engagement would address the community's previous concerns, such as rules, not creating traffic, safety, but also addressing the county's needs, which we see primarily as shifting the maintenance and operational risk of an undeveloped parcel to a responsible entity. And of course, we would return to the BOCC with the results of any engagement and any recommendation on the future offering or use of the parcel. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Commissioner Miller?
Thank you for that report. I move that we accept this report and authorize staff to conduct community engagement regarding an improved, safer walking trail and on the county-owned parcel between Oakcrest and future Hawk Springs subdivisions. Please return to the BOCC with the results of this engagement and any recommendation on future offerings of use for the parcel.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Miller. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Cohen. Don't see anyone else in the queue. Please record your vote.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Bonnie?
Thank you. The next staff report is item G2. This is to receive a report on the Commission of Human Trafficking activity for fiscal years 23, 24, and 25. Brandon Wagner will take us through this, and also Kevin Brickey is here if you have any questions.
Good morning, Brandon.
Good morning. Thank you all for the opportunity to present to you today. At the last meeting, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda and the board asked for a briefing on expenditures of the Commission on Human Trafficking from FY 23, 24, and 25. I'm going to bypass some of the earlier slides that go into the background as those were presented this morning by folks at public comment and go straight to the presentation of the numbers, if I could. So presented to you here and provided by Management and Budget are those expenditures. There's the adopted baseline budget of $267,000 in each of the fiscal years. In fiscal year 23, those were the only funds made available. In fiscal year 24, $300,000 was provided through the flagging process, and in FY 25, $400,000 was provided in the flagging process. As you'll observe in FY 23 and 24, not all the funds were expended. There was some difficulty with the Commission on Human Trafficking achieving a quorum of the 19 members. And in making those decisions, those funds reverted back to Management and Budget into the county's coffers, so they weren't retained by the Commission on Human Trafficking. So pushing forward to FY 25, the current status is $667,000 total provided for their operations. At this moment, when you include encumbrances, they will come in with about $32,000 remaining at the end of the fiscal year, assuming contract payouts continue to occur. Recently, a contract for FKQ for their marketing campaign was recently paid. That information was updated to me, in fact, last night. There is one contract for Children's Network of Hillsborough County for foster care specialized services. The contract is for $182,253. Part of that's been paid, but some of that is still outstanding, about $137,000. So that will continue to be paid through the end of the fiscal year. And the $32,000 delta that I just mentioned was there for training. That training actually turned out to be sponsored by Department of Justice and some other partner agencies. So that would be the only remaining dollars if you count the allocations and breakdown. So with that, I'll stand down and appreciate the opportunity.
All right, thanks, Brandon. What's the pleasure of the board?
Yes, thank you very much for that. Sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner Cameron-Spreda.
Sorry about that. My apologies. So thank you very much. I appreciate that, Mr. Brandon. That's awesome report. And I would also like to thank everyone that came out to speak today, especially our veterans that came out to speak, and thank you for your service today. And also, I really want to have a very special thank you for the people that came out to speak for the Commission on Human Trafficking. Thank you very much, and I know you already gave so much detail, so I'm going to make this very brief. So as we know, the reports have estimated number of victims of human trafficking are actually staggering right here in our state of Florida. And that's with forced labor victims, but also sex trafficking victims. And also minors account for half of the sex trafficking victims. And also, we need to make sure that we secure consistent, adequate funding to empower the Commission on Human Trafficking to operate at the scale and urgency that this crisis demands. And also, the recurring funds would provide much-needed stability and enable the Commission to plan and execute its mission more effectively without the uncertainty of fluctuating discretionary support. So originally, I had requested $300,000 for additional recurring funds, but I would like to change that number because I want to make sure that this passes, because we really need this money for our Commission on Human Trafficking, as already mentioned. So as Mr. Wagner said, we have $267,000 in recurring funds, and I would like to add an additional $233,000 in recurring funds, and that would bring it to $500,000 in recurring funds annually, so that we can plan accordingly to really help our Commission on Human Trafficking.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Cameron Cepeda for an additional $233,000 to be added in recurring funds to this item. Do we have a second?
And just to say, because we're not sure, we've been dependent on Commissioner Flag items to add money to this Commission on Human Trafficking, and we need to make sure that there's adequate funding to support this Commission on Human Trafficking.
Okay, do we have a second to Commissioner Cameron Cepeda's motion? All right, Commissioner Wilson, Commissioner Bowles?
Do we need a second for further
Yes.
discussion? A second for discussion, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Wilson?
Okay, I don't support it, especially because of the term recurring. We don't do recurring flags. It's a violation of our board policy, and
That's not what I was saying.
I know, but the way that this is coming through is exactly why I worked so hard, and I'm glad that Commissioner Bowles brought it to about Ordinance 1990. I don't want to pre-bind things. That being said, I would support, and I did reach out to Miss Groover-Skipper before this, just because she's basically dedicated her entire life to this cause. And there did seem to be, I had asked, had the Commission on Human Trafficking ever brought forward from their body government, basically, and presented an item to staff to advocate for more reoccurring funds, which we have 267, I believe, was it 267 right now, which are reoccurring funds. I want to make sure that the public can hear this. And the answer was, well, I don't think so, and I don't know. And the reality is that the administrator has a ball of money, and every department advocates to her for that money every year, right? That's essentially the process, right? And I don't want to create the incentive that if we do want this to be a formalized part of Hillsborough County government, which I would frankly support. However, with that happening, I would need to hear from the sheriff's deputies who are doing the real work. I would want to understand that full scope of what that would look like. I would want to make sure that we're not stepping on the sheriff's toes in some ways as well with this program. If it's just a marketing arm to create more awareness to the issue, which we all support, I would support that, and I think it needs to go through that program. I'm going to make a substitute motion to the one that's on the floor, Mr. Chair, if you'd be willing to hear that. And the substitute motion would be to direct staff to work with the Commission of Human Trafficking on any proposal budget amendments or increases that are justified with data, costs that the board can review and the county administrator can review, as well as allow the Commission on Human Trafficking to bring the board semi-annual reports similar to the many other commissions that we receive semi-annual reports from, as it was brought up to me that they have actually attempted in the past and received communications from staff that wouldn't be welcome, which I found confusing. So I think that there's probably a miscommunication issue there, because I don't believe that staff would deter them from coming and briefing us on how they're spending the taxpayers' money. So that is my motion, to direct staff to work with the Commission on Human Trafficking on budget proposals of required, necessary, reoccurring funds, and encourage them and invite them to a semi-annual update of their expenses to the Board of County Commissioners.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a substitute motion by Commissioner Worstel, a second by Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Myers?
Oh, yeah, my question is to Bonnie. Bonnie, could the $233,000 be accommodated in this year's budget, or will we have to find the funding for that?
Well, I think we're talking about for the fiscal year 26 budget. And so, yes, as part of the budget process, we could figure that out before the end of the public hearings, sure.
Yeah, about for October 1 budget, yes, thank you.
Commissioner Bowles?
There's goes undoubtedly that this is something that we need to look at. I mean, and certainly something that we need to support in our community. If we are number 3 and Tampa Bay is at the top in the states, and we're at the top of the list, I've dealt with many over my years of service in the community that have, been in that situation. My only concern is that as I'm looking at these numbers where we've adopted budgets and there's money that's been underspent, that we commit money that we're already looking to pull back and without it being spent. And I hate to say this, I mean, Commissioner Worstel, last year, year before, asked, if I gave it to you, would you spend it? And that was the case. I would like to see that there was some metric put in place, and that I think that would be the appropriate way where we could have them come to us and say, here's what our proposal, our plan for the future is, and if it's $500,000, let's give it to them and spend it. But when you look at it, I'm looking at this, and just what the numbers say, we put $667,000 and $358,000 or have been expended so far. The year prior, you had $140,000 less. So I think that if we're going to put more money into it, we should definitely do so, but it just thinks it needs to be kind of tightened up, and that we can make sure that we're putting the appropriate amount of money forward to support those services, and that we can support our community that way.
Commissioner Worstel?
I did want to clear up, and I think Brandon attempted to, but maybe it wasn't successful, and that's the whole reason I called Dottie, is because I saw those numbers and my eyes opened up. And what staff presented, and there's a small little tiny asterisk down there of year-to-date actual expenditures, but the difference is that the money is encumbered but not invoiced out yet. But there is a super majority of that budget that they got is actually encumbered. So I just wanted to make that clear, and that was a big confusing point even for me. I was very surprised. So they are spending their money. It's just that the way that the payment systems work. So I do agree that there's no way that we can't support one more one-time out of the massive countywide reserves, which is like almost $250 million, I believe. I think so. I think that that's right. I think it's about $250 million. It's about 25% of $1 billion. So I do believe that we could find one more time, and that you could formalize a program so that way we're not blindsided with items, because it's just frustrating. Just like we were blindsided last year's budget meeting by some items. It's frustrating, and I didn't support it then, and I won't support it now, and that's why I'm going this route. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, so we have substitute motion. Commissioner Woolston, second. Commissioner Miller, please record your vote.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, Bonnie?
Thank you. The next item is just future discussion items.
Okay, I've got one, and then I've got to actually run. Board members, we received a staff report on Bacchus that described the potential opportunities and benefits of a new equestrian facility, and that it also highlighted a previously issued RFP 7 or 8 years ago. So I would just like staff to bring forward a proposed or a draft RFP in first meeting in September that we can consider, that's to have a better understanding of what we're looking at and what's being considered. So if we could do that. And then I'm sorry, but I do have to run. But Commissioner Cohen is next.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I will be brief. I have 2 future discussion items. The first is for the county attorney. I've had a lot of complaints and dialogue with people in my district about the abuse of the ordinance to from rentals to Airbnb type operations, and I'd like to find out if there's any more to enforce our current rules, tighten them up, so that week rentals are actually something that gets enforced. And then the second is I report back in October, preferably at our October meeting, showing the board all of the land that the county owns in downtown, east of Morgan Street, south of Cass Street, all the way to Nebraska Avenue, and going south all the way to the Water Street development. And that's it.
It is
Did you get all
cutting
that?
out a little bit, but I think we got it. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we got it. Commissioner Bowles, you recognized?
Thank you. And again, I'll try to keep this brief so we can get out of here. I'd like to ask, based on our earlier conversation, and it seems like there's some change with the recent changes, that maybe it would be prudent for us to have a workshop, if we can, and direct you guys to maybe coordinate that surrounding the indigent healthcare tax and what we can do, and have some real substantive discussion, so we're not chewing up a board meeting about it. We can actually have some discussion about that. And since it's not directly tied to our general fund and our budgeting process, that we can have that, as I understand, because it's not property taxes, that we can have that outside of that once we get done with this budget process. Can we do that?
Yes, we'll schedule another one.
Yeah, thank you.
Seeing no one else in the queue, we are adjourned.